Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Talk of the Town here on mycountylink.com. I'm Alex Warner. Glad you could join us today for what we feel is going to be a very, very interesting episode of Talk of the Town. You know, when we're younger and so forth, we always think about different dreams we have. Maybe it's building that tree house. Maybe it's building a raft, floating down a river, taking some unknown adventure. But we are coming today to you from northwest Darke County, where one man and his wife have put together a dream of their own. And so I guess you could say the old phrase is, if you build it, they will come. And so today we're going to take a look at a Darke County version of the Field of Dreams, just like the Kevin Costner movie, as we talk to Gretchen and Chris Snyder out here in northwest Darke County. Glad you could join us. We'll be back in just a minute and take a look at a baseball diamond that's come to fulfill one couple's dreams. We'll be back in just a minute here on Talk of the Town. Welcome back to Talk of the Town here on mycountylink.com. Again, Alex Warner along with videographer Nick Schmidt, and we've ventured out here northwest Darke County, fairly close to the Union City Golf Course, and with us a couple that has an interesting story to tell here, and this is Chris and Gretchen Snyder. And first of all, Gretchen, a little bit, how long did you say you've lived on this particular piece of property now?
A little over 20 years.
20 years, and you're originally from up in northeast Ohio, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So anyhow, so what brought you down this way?
Chris was working in Huber Heights, and we just were looking for a small town to live in. Drove around for a long time and landed in Greenville.
And here you are.
Here we are.
Here you are. Okay. And Chris, so you're another boy from North Canton, right? North Canton, Hoover, if I remember the story here correctly. How did you end up here, and then how did you end up with Gretchen? Because you said that you worked, you went to UC to college, correct?
Right. Yes.
And then it majored in
mechanical engineering, and then I moved to San Diego for a couple of years and worked out there. And then I moved back to Ohio and started working in Huber Heights. And then my brother introduced Gretchen and I.
Okay. And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Okay.
And we had really big phone bills for a couple of years.
Yeah, if you were out in San Diego.
Long distance dating, yeah.
Okay. So anyhow, so you worked with Trimble, and then you said that COVID came along and that kind of forced a retirement or something?
Well, yeah, Chris retired, and he'd been planning on retiring, and same time as COVID hit, so he retired and started working on a ball field.
Okay. And so how many acres do you have here in this property?
So we have 14 acres. We have the ball field's about 2 acres, and then the house is on about 5 acres, and then we have a pasture across the creek.
Okay. Now everybody's going to ask me, they'll want to know the answer to this question. How in the world, of all the projects you could do as an engineer, how in the world did you decide to build a baseball diamond here on this piece of land?
You want the short version?
I think the fans out there would like the short version.
Okay. Well, it all started back when I was a kid, and my brother and I, we played all kinds of baseball. Any version of baseball you could play, we played. And I always built the fields. I made pitcher's mounds and backstops in our backyard, and I always tried to cut our grass like Candlestick Park, and my dad hated it. But he let me build the ball field. He didn't let me cut the front yard.
Did you live out in the country then, or suburbs?
Suburbs, yeah. Okay. So we had a small backyard with lots of trees, and the green monster was a bunch of pine trees. And
okay. But what led to this particular idea then? Any one thing?
No, I just have always liked baseball, and okay. I've always liked baseball fields and the technical aspect of it, and all the fields I built got bigger and bigger, and this one's kind of the last one, I think.
Okay. Now you were saying, because when people see this, they'll think, well, hey, Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner movie, Shoeless Joe Jackson, James Earl Jones, but not really.
No, not really. Chris had never seen the movie. And as he started building the ball field, people would say, like, oh, so, if he builds it, they will come. And and they would say that to Chris. And finally he said to me one day, he goes, what are people talking about? I don't understand. So I had to explain it to him. And we haven't yet watched the movie together, but it's on our list of things to do. Yeah.
I just can't believe you haven't seen that movie. That's one of the great sports films of all time. Yeah, okay. Well, tell me about this piece of property. What was this when you first started? And this has been, you said, 7 years in the making?
Yeah, so it was a pasture, and it had a grove of trees down there in left field and center field, and they were ash trees, and they all died at the same time. And then the rest was pasture, long grass, and we just mowed it occasionally, and it was just seemed like a prime spot for a baseball field. So the ash trees died. We had no more nice grove of trees, and I thought, well, let's turn it into a baseball field, and we decided to build a baseball field and kind of make a park out here. So we're working on that aspect of it.
You know you have a very understanding wife, right?
Yeah, she's watched me go through a couple of projects like this over the
So
years.
what was stage one then? You had to take the trees down that were dead ash trees, right?
So I cut down 13 dead ash trees and stump ground them all, and then I rented a bulldozer for a couple of weeks, and I leveled the whole site and went from there.
Well, it's a good thing you had a degree in engineering, because you had to get the slope and the lay of the land and everything. And you said you'd never operated a bulldozer before?
That's right. But I had access to lots of laser leveling equipment because I worked at a laser leveling company, and I happened to know how to use them. So I put them on a bulldozer and had at it.
So how long did it take to get it leveled off after clearing the trees and things of that nature? Was that the first year or 2 years?
Yeah, it was about 2 years to get it all leveled before we were able to plant grass.
Okay. And now by this time, you're starting to think, my husband's lost his mind or not?
No, that's actually really was a fun part of the project. Getting to learn how to use some of the big equipment, and I didn't work the bulldozer, but some of the other equipment we have had out here. Yeah, so some of that stuff's really fun, learning how to use some of the leveling equipment that Chris has worked on over the years. So he trained me on that a bit. And so, yeah, that was actually a really fun part of the project, getting to do that together, that part of it together, yeah.
Now, how did you decide on the dimensions of the field just to fit the lot that was available? Because this isn't a full size, but this is a 12, 13-year-old type of diamond, correct? What are the dimensions here?
So it's 70-foot bases, 50-foot pitcher's mound, and the fences are about 220, 250 all the way around. And it's made for, like you said, 12 to 13-year-old players, just a little bit out of Little League, but not quite in the next level.
Okay.
So I built it mostly because my brother and I are getting older, and I wanted us to be able to hit the ball over the fence occasionally. So my brother and I like to...
Well, I tell you, I'm going to take a few swings later on. We're going to have to move the fence in probably this side of second base. We'll see how the 75-year-old can do with that. But you were telling me then, the next step after you got things leveled off then was sowing the grass seed, and you ran into a little trouble there, you were telling me.
Yeah, so we planted the grass, and that we planted it at the end of July, which is not a great time to plant grass. But then for the next 21 days, it rained 16 out of 21 days,
wow.
and we got 20 inches of rain, and it turned into a lake. And I was about ready to give up.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a sea of mud then. Were you hanging in there with him by that point in time?
Yeah, still hanging in there. Just, getting more grass seed and more supplies and start over. And the big challenge was is it called French drain? It started to collapse. So Chris had to dig that all out. And I wasn't much help with that.
Yeah. So this field all drains to this French ditch, and then that eventually ends up in Greenville Creek. Is that where the water goes?
Yeah, it just goes down the hill. There's a hill behind the backstop, and it goes down the hill and goes into Greenville Creek.
Okay. All right, so we've got this all done, and then you had to get some special equipment then. My gosh, you brought in special soil for the infield. Let's talk about that first.
So let's see, I've lost track. There's probably 200 tons of special baseball dirt that's on this infield at this point. So I just got a fresh batch of 20 tons a couple weeks ago, and I leveled it off a little bit to make it look good.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I know you've got a drag and different things like that. You pull behind the tractor to work the infield.
Right.
But this is a great composite of different soils here and so forth, or whatever it is. It really looks sharp.
Yeah, it's a really nice material. It handles moisture really well, and you drag it about a quarter inch, 3/8 of an inch deep, and then once you get it all dragged, you wet it down a little bit, and it looks nice and nice soft surface to play on.
And then what kind of grass did you put in here then?
It's 50% Kentucky bluegrass, 25% perennial rye, and tall fescue is the last 25%.
Okay. And then you do all the work yourself as far as fertilization and
Yeah,
weed killers, herbicides.
insecticides, fungicides. I do it all. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, it looks great. I don't know how you get it to. It's just almost immaculate. There's no bare spots that I can see. Haven't been out in center field, but
it's not bad.
the infield is not bad at all. And then you had to get a special mower then because you put this checkerboard design in, like you said, Candlestick Park, the old home of the San Francisco Giants.
Right.
Where'd you get the mower, and where'd you learn all this stuff?
So it's YouTube is where I learned it all. And the mower I have is a 30-inch reel type mower. Instead of a rotary mower, it's like a golf course mower.
Okay.
And I walk with it. And
So you walk this entire field.
yeah, so the stripes in the outfield are 60 inches wide. So I go two passes to make it each stripe
Okay.
with the 30-inch mower.
Well, man, and you said you had to use did you use a laser or something to help him out on that to keep the line straight, or a drone, or what'd you do?
No. That's all Chris. He's just, I don't know, how did you get the lines all so even and straight?
They're not as straight as you think.
Well,
but
they look pretty straight to my eye.
they look pretty good, from the air. But I use a string line to get the first line, and then I just go from there.
Okay. And now, a lot of times when you talk that 12, 13-year age group, they don't have the best pitcher's mounds in the world. In fact, some of them have those portable mounds and so forth that I think just are terrible.
I hate those.
How did you happen to get this? I mean, it almost looks perfect from here. Is that the regulation height of the mound and everything?
It's regulation, height, diameter, slope, everything. Yep.
Yeah.
And material. It's got clay base, special pitcher's mound clay, and with a little topping of top dressing.
Okay. So the dimensions then, so we've got 70-foot base paths, 50-foot pitcher's mounds, but this is also can be used for softball.
Right. And I have base anchors for 60-foot bases, and you can play softball on it. And there's a pitcher's rubber at 43 feet for softball.
And that's on a flat surface then too.
Flat surface, and that's why I have the path going to the mound so that the softball pitcher has a place to land.
Now, did you put all that fencing up? Because that's just a gorgeous fencing out there with a little extra height there in left field to keep balls out of the cornfield, I suppose.
I did. I put up the fence. It's chain link fence, and I learned how to do that, and I put that up. And
And the foul poles and everything. I mean, this looks official, folks. I'm standing here. This could be at Williamsport, Pennsylvania for the Little League World Series.
so it's a great opportunity for me to learn how to use all kinds of things. Like I made the foul poles, I welded them together, and I welded the posts for the backstop together with the flanges on the base, and sunk the poles myself. And
You had way too much time on your hands, don't you?
a bored mechanical engineer, yeah.
Well, anyhow, so we got this beautiful diamond, and it took this is 7th summer. You've been working on it, right? Yeah. And you said eventually down the road you're looking maybe dugouts or something? Or what?
Yeah, dugouts I think will be next, and I think I'm going to redo the backstop. I think I'm going to go with brick on the backstop, the boards on the backstop.
Okay. And you said that you have every year then you have family friends that come out and play a little ball.
Yeah, for the last few years, we've been having some friends and family that like to play ball. We just have a big picnic, and Chris has organized a little, what we call the mini solo cup tournament. And
Well, I see it's called the Snyder Baseball League?
yeah, and all the players are Snyders. So it doesn't matter what your last name is. You're a Snyder.
You become a Snyder. Now, let's talk about the name of the field, because I think that's pretty cool how you came up with the name. And I'll step out of the way here for Totality Field. How'd that all come about?
Okay, so 8 years ago, Gretchen and I went to Kentucky to witness the total solar eclipse, and we loved that so much. It was such an amazing experience that we thought, sorry, I lost my train of thought. We decided to find out where the next solar eclipse might be near us,
And son of a gun.
and it just so happened 8 years after that eclipse was an eclipse right over our house. So we decided to name our field Totality Field.
I think that's just a great name, Totality Field. Oh, geez. Anyhow, so now what do you have kind of pictured here? Because you said it's for 12 and 13-year-olds. Is there a possibility down the road that you might have teams come out here just to play a game, or what do you vision here?
Yeah, I think if teams were interested in playing here, I would love to have teams that really enjoyed playing baseball. I'd love to have them come out and see how they like the field and how we can make it better. And it'd be fun to watch some good baseball on a nice baseball field.
So how would somebody contact you then if they were interested in doing something like this? I'll get over here to Gretchen. And so Gretchen, if somebody said, hey, that sounds like a really cool idea, we'd like to go out there. I call this, Indian country out here. It's out in the middle of nowhere. But how do they get in touch with you?
Well, my daughter created a Facebook page just called Totality Field, and you can go there for information, pictures, some history, stuff like that. And then we also have an email address where people can get a hold of us, and that's just totalityfield.com.
Very good, very good. And so that you rent it out by the game, I suppose, something like that, or however you want to do it. Haven't even talked about that. Yeah.
Inviting people to come
Okay.
over and have fun.
Well, I think once people see this, they'll just be overly impressed with all the work and effort you put into
I
it.
might have to trim the tree on the third
yeah.
on the third base line if people want to play real baseball.
Yeah, there's a big. What kind of tree is that anyhow?
I think it's a maple tree.
Yeah, maple tree kind of hangs over third baseline there a little bit.
And it's definitely in play for the family functions that we do, and you got to play it off the tree just like you did in the backyard.
Or play like off the roof you do in an indoor stadium, right? So anyhow, so I could pull one clear over here, and if it ricochets enough and lands behind shortstop, I probably got a
Probably got
double.
triple or
Yeah,
double.
double or triple. Yeah. So anyhow, well, this is just great. I think once people see this show and everything, it'll pique their interest, and so hopefully you'll get some phone calls and some more interest stirred up that way, and that's why we're out here. But we certainly wanted to take a look at this, and I think you and I are going to throw the ball back and forth a little bit, maybe take a swing or two and see what happens.
That sounds good.
Okay, I've loosened up enough, so
Yeah, me too.
Nick knows
That's
it.
a little
Nick's
cool.
going to take some pictures. The only one he's actually going to put in the tape then are going to be the ones where he actually hit the ball or actually catch the ball, something like that. But anyhow, we'll kind of wrap things up here, and then we'll kind of work that all in there. But boy, I tell you what, thanks for having us out here, and I feel privileged. I got to help line the field here a little bit, and this guy's so crafty. Everything was kind of hand designed, and you thought of it. And, tell the story about the groundskeeper from high school, because that's to me is kind of one of the key components how you got into this.
He doesn't know it, but he had a great impact on me.
Is he still living?
No, he's long past now, but his name is Dick Miller, and he was the groundskeeper at North Canton Hoover baseball and football field. And he had probably the best baseball field in the state when I was playing, and it was just a pleasure to play on. And sometimes he would let me help him on the grounds crew and get the field ready for games, and that's when I got kind of hooked on it.
Yeah, and that's even when you were doing your own fields in your own backyard then, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's a perfect fit then, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. Well, every man has to have a hobby, and every man has to have a dream. And so this is Chris and Gretchen Snyder's. I don't know if we call it Field of Dreams, if that'd be plagiarizing or not, but it certainly is. And like James Earl Jones said, or whatever in the movie with Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. And I think once people see this, I think you'll be surprised. And that, to get in touch with, again, the phone number and or the website.
We don't have a website,
Okay.
but we do have a Facebook page
Facebook.
called Totality Field, and you can message us that way. And the email is totalityfield.com.
Okay, very good. Very good, yeah.
I prefer that anybody who plays on the field will use wood bats.
Oh, okay. No aluminum bats, huh?
Aluminum bats, it's all wood.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with that. I still haven't gotten quite used to the ping of bats as opposed to the crack of the bat. Oh, jeez. Well, anyhow, this has been Chris and Gretchen Snyder, and thanks so much for having us out. And we're going to throw a few balls, and Nick will work that into the film here, and we'll see what happens. But thanks for a lot for having us out. I ran into Gretchen, where was it? Whelan's Jewelers, I think it was. Yeah, I dropped a couple of my wife's watches off there, and this young lady came up and said, "Hey, you're Alex Warner, why don't we do it?" And I thought, that's a pretty interesting thing. That was clear back, around Christmas or first of the year, wasn't it?
I think it was. It was in the winter, and it just kind of popped in my head when I saw you, and I was like, hey, my husband's doing this kind of crazy thing. Maybe it would make a good story for you. So yeah, we appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Well, this has been great. And you folks out there, if you have ideas like that too, Nick has a camera, and we'll travel about anywhere for good, interesting stories such as this one. So anyhow, thanks for watching My County mycountylink.com, and thanks for watching this episode of Talk of the Town. Good night, everybody.